This is episode 17, Adjectives. Okay, so we're finally moving away from verbs for the time being and on to adjectives. Once again, we'll look at their semantic features, their morphological features, and their syntactic behaviour to help us define what an adjective is. So let's begin with the semantic feature. An adjective is a describing word. That's its semantic feature. It relates to things like shape, taste, size, colour, or judgment, that is good or bad or whatever. Let's just write that down. Okay, so that's its semantic feature. Let's move on now to morphological features. Now we'll start with inflectional morphology. The first important part of inflectional morphology is that adjectives are gradable. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's have a look here. Funny can be funnier and the funniest. So it's gradually getting more and more funny, really, and that means that it's gradable. We can do the same thing with beautiful, but this time we use more beautiful and the most beautiful. Good is one of our irregular gradable adjectives. We have good, which becomes better, and then best. And there are some adjectives that aren't really gradable, but we grade them anyway, like Australian and pregnant. He is Australian, or he is very Australian. She is pregnant, she is really pregnant now. So we can say that he is very Australian. It's non-standard, but we do it anyway. So we can turn non-gradable adjectives into gradable adjectives. So that's our morphological or inflectional morphology. Now, in addition to this inflectional morphology, adjectives also take some derivational morphology. So I'll throw out some examples for you and write them down as we go. Okay, so we have able, as in capable. We have able, as in credible. We have all, A-L, all, as in emotional. We have esque, such as picturesque. We have full, such as beautiful or plentiful. We have ick, like domestic. Ickle, such as musical. Yous, I-O-U-S, such as nutritious. Us, with the O-U-S, no I, such as studious, well that's I-O-U-S as well. We have ish, like squeamish. Iv, like inventive. And less, like effortless. And E, with a Y, like hasty. There's quite a few. Now, being an open class, we will often add ish, so we use this ish and put it on the end of nouns as well, such as schoolgirlish, and we turn nouns into adjectives in that way as well. So ish is commonly used to make up new adjectives. Okay, so there are the morphological features, inflectional and derivational. Now let's move on to the syntactic properties of adjectives. Now the first syntactic property of an adjective relates to where the adjective can be found in the sentence. So let's have a look here. We have the gentle child. In this situation, the adjective is found before the noun. The next sentence, the child is gentle. In this situation, gentle is found after the child. And some instances, such as the one that I've given you here, the adjective can be found either before or after the noun. So it can be found either side. Now you have to be careful though, because sometimes, such as in the football field, where it looks like it's an adjective, it's not actually an adjective. So, for example, if we look at the word football outside of its syntactic parameters, it behaves like a noun and not an adjective. For example, it takes an S, as in one football, two footballs, and it's not gradable, as in football, he is more footballer, he is the footballist. I mean, there is a footballer, but that's a person, another noun. It does take a particle, such as a football, and we can have adjectives to describe it, such as an old football. So really, in all intents and purposes, football in the phrase the football field is actually a noun. So even though it looks as though it's an adjective in the same sort of noun phrase, it is a noun. And so we don't call it an adjective, we call it a noun modifier. Okay? So all of this together means that if we based our analysis of adjectives purely on this element of its syntactic behaviour, we would have a very hard time confidently identifying an adjective. Now, our second example of syntactic behaviour is that adjectives can be modified. For example, he is old can be he is so old, or that is true can become that is very true. So these adverbs are modifying the adjectives. That's the second syntactic behaviour that we find in adjectives. Now, our third syntactic behaviour that we find in adjectives is that they can be clarified. They can have dependents that clarify their meaning. So if we take the sentence, I am too tired, we can add on to the end, to do any more. Now this to do any more is clarifying tired. How tired are you? Well, I'm too tired to do any more. Similarly, my journal is complete. I can add on a prepositional phrase here with pictures and writing. Now this is actually clarifying how complete it is. So it's clarifying the adjective complete. So there they are, they're the properties, the semantic, morphological and syntactic properties of adjectives, and that about sums up our breakdown of adjectives. So we're going to push on to the next bit, which is adjective phrases in our next video, and that will also give us a little bit more insight into adjectives too. So until then, thanks for watching The Language Code.